Lovers of lore, thank you for joining me for the second installment of the Bloomburrow story. This part of the story starts with Helga the Frogfolk awakening in a place she did not recognize. She was unconscious as she had been transported to Mabel's home. Helga had been experiencing a series of awful dreams before she awoke. She dreamt of the night owl wreaking havoc. The location it was in changed to multiple unfamiliar places, but in each, the terrible owl was laying waste to the surroundings. And in each location, there was the same unknown scarred weasel who was wearing a red hood. Was this all her imagining or a vision? She heard voices outside her room and painfully sat up. Her groaning caused a pair of mousefolk to come and check on her. Helga dimly recognized the female mouse as one who had brought her here. The other one turned out to be her mate Clem. Helga had been gifted clean clothes from a frogfolk villager named Reed, and the healer had determined that her injuries were not life-threatening. Clem fetched the rabbit mare Oliver to hear what Helga had to say, while Mabel explained that they were in her village of Goodhill, which was hours away from Helga's home of Pondside. Helga didn't realize she had traveled so far in her panic. Oliver arrived and dove into a long-winded introduction, but Mabel cut him off. Helga's throat tightened as she relayed news of the night owl's attack. News of the calamity beast that blotted out the sun was difficult to talk about. Helga's home had been completely devastated. She also spoke at length of her vision dream, which caused Mabel and Clem to share a serious look, while Oliver tried desperately to downplay it all as a flight of fancy, until Mabel silenced him. Helga started to weep. This was too much for her. Oliver dismissing her visions, like so many had before him, combined with the ordeal she had been through, was too much for her to bear. If they didn't believe her, how was she going to get aid to Pondside? Oliver and Clem murmured some kind words and left Helga with Mabel. Outside the home, there was rumblings of concern from the villagers of Goodhill. What word of the calamity beast? They asked the mayor. And Oliver, in his most officious tones, told the villagers everything was well in hand. After all, the calamity beasts hadn't troubled them since the Battle of Kell's Ridge ages ago. We're supposed to be celebrating Mabel's birthday with fine strawberry cake. Come, friends. The mayor wasn't wrong about the calamity beasts. Lily, the wielder of the fabled blade Cragflame, had driven the calamity beasts away, and the weavers used magic that protected the valley. The villagers set about celebrating with cheers and music. Mabel's daughter Rosalind arrived with some soothing mint tea for Helga. Helga drank deeply and lamented that she should have stayed to help Pondside, but Mabel pointed out to her that no one person kept the world turning. Unfortunately, that did very little to stifle Helga's guilt. Mabel invited Helga to join in on her birthday celebration and then left her alone with her thoughts in the room. Helga at that time didn't feel physically up to joining in the revelry, so she abided in her room for a while. Mabel went to speak with Clem. Oliver wants to wave this away as a fanciful tale, but I believe the girl has visions, true visions. We have to send people to check on Pondside. Something has to be done. As she said that, she looked up towards the attic. Clem saw the look. Do you really think it's necessary to go up there? Mabel nodded thoughtfully. The calamity beasts call for it. So she ascended into the attic, which was mostly filled with their family's knickknacks and seasonal decorations. But under a sheet lay what she had come for. Pulling it aside, she laid her eyes on her family's most treasured possession, a blade fashioned from a massive tooth that had been sharpened down on both sides. There were sigils carved into it, and the pommel was shaped into a dancing flame. This sword was made from a fang of the wildfire wolf that had almost destroyed the entire world. This blade was the legendary crag flame, once wielded by Lily of the Valley. Mabel's mother had handed the blade down to her, as she in turn would one day hand it down to one of her daughters. Her mother wasn't sure whether the story of Lily and the wildfire wolf was actually true, but the blade held power. Of that, there was no doubt. Picking up Cragflame, Mabel felt magic flow into her. It provided a gentle warmth, and the sigils on the blade glowed red for a moment. Cragflame had never done that before. She viewed it as an omen. The blade had its own awareness, and in the ancient past had even obliterated thieves who tried to steal away with it. When Mabel came back out of the attic, her birthday celebrations were in full swing. Music, delicious treats, dancing, and even an archery competition was taking place. The aura of fear that had hung over the village had dissipated. As the day started to darken, the Batfolk came to join in the festivities, and fireflies glowed in the streets. Mabel could feel the fragility of the peace here. Clem saw her concern. "Don't miss the morning sun waiting for the evening rain, my love." Helga appeared then, uncertain, and a kindly villager brought her a piece of carrot cake. But Helga just held the plate. Oliver quieted the assembled crowd and gave his yearly speech praising Mabel and her bravery in defending Goodhill from bandits. He went on for some time, and then he motioned Mabel to join him and add her thoughts. She did so and thanked the assembled people for making her birthday so special. Mabel looked out at the friendly faces and her children and had second thoughts about going to Pondside. Others could surely go to help in her place. But then Mabel's eyes fell on Helga. The frog folk stared upwards, her face a mask of fear. The cake on her plate was completely untouched and held in a trembling hand. Mabel couldn't just stay in her comfortable home and do nothing. So she gestured at Helga. She came at a great distance from Pondside to get help and warn us of the night owl, she said to the assembled crowd. The mood of the crowd started to shift towards uneasiness, but Mabel continued, "We must aid Pondside. Goodhill could be next to fall to Maha the night owl's power." Mabel drew forth Cragflame and held it high. Flames licked along the blade, and the crowd was awed. "I travel to the aid of Pondside. Who among you will come with me?" Most of the people assembled averted their gaze, but a voice rang out, "I'll go." It was Phineas, a rabbit folk archer of great skill. Wordlessly, Hugs, who was a massive badger 3 times as big as Mabel, stood and nodded that he too would join her. Gev, the lizard folk, refused to let Hugs leave without him and also said he would join. His twin fire maces would be quite handy. And unexpectedly, Zoraline the Batfolk also spoke up. "The stars are not right. Perhaps Pondside holds the answers to this." And Helga ran up to Mabel, almost tripping. "I'm coming too. I know some basic cantrips, and Pondside is my home." Mabel nodded. "We must prepare to leave at first light." The assembled crowd started to applaud. Their approval of this heroism was plain to see. Helga spent the night at Goodhill's Inn, while Mabel spent the evening with her family. She hadn't even left yet, and somehow she already missed them. There was no telling what tomorrow would bring. And that ends the second installment of the Bloomburrow story. Thanks for coming by and listening to the entirety of it. If you enjoy what's going on here with these videos, you can support this channel by joining the channel membership or the Patreon. A big thank you to the channel's members and patrons. We will be back for the next installment of the Bloomburrow story. In the meantime, go enjoy some more videos on this channel because after all, lore is life.